Welcome to Din's Talk, the space where soul wisdom meets bold action. I'm Mia Dins, your host, here to ignite your fire, help you claim your power, and guide you to take unstoppable steps towards your dream. Every episode is designed to awaken your purpose, fuel your passion, and spark transformation in your life. It's time to step into your truth and never stop. Let's dive in. All right. Welcome, beautiful souls, to another episode on Din's Talk. And as always, I am excited for this guest today. We have on a very, very special soul. Today, we welcome a woman who embodies resilience, reverence, and radical embodiment. Dr. Elizabeth E.Wisniewski is not just a chiropractor, somatic movement therapist, and PhD in somatic depth psychology. She's living a living transmission of what it means to turn pain into purpose and loss into luminous. Born and raised in Michigan, her journey was shaped by the early loss of her mother and over 30 surgeries that altered her physical vision, but awakened her inner one, 100%. While the world around her blurred, her soul became sharply attuned. She now sees through her hands, her heart, and her intuition, like she so beautifully said it. And Elizabeth is a guide who walks between science and spirit. She is practicing Bhakti Yogi daily. She's a musician, a poet, a visionary leader, and the president of Dream Planet, a global tech platform revolutionizing how creatives connect and thrive. Whether she's supporting women through birth and embodiment, leading leaders into nervous system sovereignty, or chanting beside her beloved husky Jaya, Elizabeth's ready grace, grounded wisdom, and a fierce devotion to truth. And today, on her birthday, guys, we get to sit in sacred space with her. So take a breath, drop into your body, and let this conversation be a homecoming to your soul. So welcome, Elizabeth. It's an honor to have you here, and I give you now the chance to introduce yourself.
Wow, thank you. That was quite the introduction already. I felt my whole being when you mentioned Jaya. I was like, yes, it's like such a special being in my life. Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad to be here. My background prior to becoming a double doctor, I have a undergrad in environmental studies and political science. I thought I was going to go to law school, and I did a lot of environmental justice work throughout the Americas, studied in Guatemala, Brazil, and Nicaragua during my undergrad, and now really have transmuted that into work I do within obstetric violence and obstetric racism, and still so, underlying underpinnings of social justice work still and beyond. I have a lot of certifications. I'm also a pre and perinatal educator. Like you said, I practice Bhakti yoga, I play the harmonium and some other instruments, and try to live a really connected, embodied life.
So beautiful. And I love that. That's why the introduction is so boom, bang, pow, because your body. So I had to actually, had my notes because I couldn't memorize that all, but it's just very, very beautiful. And it's not about like, in an egotistic way, like, hey, look at me. It's just about showing how much you just like have embodied and learned and studied. And obviously it is part of your soul journey. And I can totally relate to that. We're all multidimensional beings, but when you completely embody it and just tap into everything that's available, it's so beautiful, no? And I know you had possibly more than just these two initiations, but looking at it, I guess these are the two major ones in your life. Firstly, for your loss, that you lost your mother when you were 14.
Yeah.
How it feels to lose, I lost my father when I was 13, so I can absolutely relate to that. And the second one was when you lost your eyesight, and how have these experiences actually shaped your reality and rewired your perception of life and your purpose?
It's so interesting because I've done so much work through talk therapy, somatic therapy, that it's like that was me and that's a part of me, but also it feels like another lifetime ago. So when I tap back in, when I was about 5, getting ready for kindergarten here in the States, just normal pediatric visit with the doctor, and he just thought my retinas looked a little bit different when he looked inside my eyes with the ophthalmoscope, which led us on about a 1.5 year journey of seeking, what was going on with my eyes. And it finally got a diagnosis, and I have a rare eye disease found in boys in the Middle East mostly. and I'm Polish on both sides and a girl. Nobody else has this disease. I don't have any of the known genetic mutations, it turns out. So it's part of my soul journey, but lots of surgeries throughout my entire childhood. My eyes would internally bleed, so then I'd have to have surgery. And throughout that time, my mom had breast cancer 3 different times. So a lot of it converged my first year of high school, my freshman year, and I was 14, and she had cancer for the 3rd time. And I was a competitive swimmer my whole life, and I was going in for a flip turn, and all of a sudden I just couldn't see the wall because my retina had detached. So I had emergency surgery, and then another surgery, and then about 5-6 weeks later, my other retina detached. And with my right eye at that point, I never got the vision back in my right eye, but my left eye was pretty good for another 7 years. So that same year, my mother actually passed away from breast cancer. So I'm 14. It's a hard age to begin with. Have all these surgeries. I missed a lot of school. And I actually had knee surgery from dislocating my knee 5 days after my mom died. So it was a really hard time. But as she was slowly leaving this earth, she was always a special ed teacher growing throughout my whole life. And I had to still go to school. So she was teaching me how to look at objectives and meet them in a different way. So I was in geometry at the time, and she put together pegboards with rubber bands. So I would feel the shapes of the rubber bands and do all the mental math out loud. So she was setting me up for that, because about 7 years later, right when I had finished undergrad, I thought I was going to go to law school, and I had my 30th surgery. It was supposed to give me vision back in my left eye. And when I woke up, I knew in my soul I'd lost more vision. And that's what actually had happened. I lost pretty much the rest of my eyesight after that 30th surgery. And that really set me on a different path. And I was in a lot of physical and emotional pain. I find that eye pain kind of reminds me of tooth pain. It's just there in your face and you can't get away from it. Like for me, if let's say like my ankle hurts, I can be in a relationship with it, but I also can kind of take space from it because it's like away from my center. But for eye pain, face pain, it's really hard to move away from it. Especially chronic pain like that. But when that all happened, I heard a commercial from Medical Massage Full, and I had told my dad, I'm like, I think that's what I'm going to do from right now. And a couple weeks in, I never taken any anatomy before. I'm like, this makes sense to me. Hey, Dad, thanks for paying for undergrad. I think I'm meant to be a chiropractor. Go in a really different direction. And my dad was like, okay. And he supported that. And I went and I took all my science classes. But I mean, I literally couldn't see at this point. But everything my mom had taught me 7 years prior came back because I was able to figure out how to take classes like physics and chemistry without being able to see them, and to do the equations through mental math with the professors. And that's what then got me into chiropractic school, and then a bunch of other certifications, and then went back and got a second doctorate degree. Those major things of losing my eyesight and my mom all converged about the same time.
Wow, this is incredible. So you literally embody how to turn pain into purpose. Actually, why it appears to be, and obviously definitely I can only imagine that it felt like something was completely taken away from you, which it was, but at the same time space for something greater that you could have never received, right? A gift.
Yeah, and I absolutely did not know that at the time. I mean, I was young, but I was really determined. This version of me now, this is someone who's been through years and decades of therapy to make meaning of these experiences and to be embodied in this moment. And I think that's really important because we all have our own challenges in life. And then we go on social media and we see people with highlights, and that's not real life. That's not seeing the shadow work and then the hard times.
I love this that you mentioned that, because that's absolutely what I also embody and also what I portray outside there, on social media as well. Like there's no perfect, and that's what most people get hung up. They see another person. Even I had that years ago, maybe. I was never really a scroller on social media that much anyway, but even these little moments could affect me hugely. I saw someone, they always look happy. They're walking along the beach. They have these beautiful clothes and this money and they smile, but nobody was ever showing
like how they got there and what's going on behind the scenes. And that's what the people want to see. I want to see that. I don't need to see the suffering, but I want you to tell me, talk through your transformation, talk what you have been through, talk the real shit, basically. Like, go really deep. Tell me, like, I'm all about that, being really raw and authentic. And because we are humans and we are at times feeling pain and disappointment and jealousy and all these things, and we are meant to feel all of it. There's no right or wrong, like to everything. And once you start embracing that, this journey is becoming so amazing because you get to discover yourself. And when you get triggered in either way, either it's a positive or a negative trigger is a trigger, you get to see, oh, what's going on here? Why is that triggering me right now? And if you really have the awareness, you go deeper and open up another layer, a part of you that you've been yet. And that's the most beautiful journey you can ever embark on. And I always say, if I could share one truth with this world, is like, take the time to get to know yourself and build a relationship with yourself on every single level, with your body, with your soul, with your emotions, with your heart, with your mind, with all of it. This is the most important relationship we will ever have in this entire life, right? And something so profound, which I wanted to go a little bit deeper in, when you said chronic pain, right? You work with so many people, different walks of lives, and you obviously have experienced so much yourself. And I can't remember who said that, but someone said like that the body is the megaphone of the soul, because I find it very beautiful. It's actually our soul trying to speak to us through the body, right? Because that's when the alarm bells ring. Ding, ding, ding. There's pain. Have I missed? Right?
Yeah. And that's what somatics is. Like, somatics is such a big word right now. But when we look at somatics, it is the first person lived experience, subjective experience of the body. So when you pass away and transition and leave your body here on earth, that's the body, but your soma isn't there. For me, soma has that life spark, some soul with it, because it's your lived experience.
Love this. So beautiful. Yeah, soma is a big word. I first encountered it, I think, in 2019 when I started doing soma breath. I was joining actually, it was like a festival, called Festival, New Zealand, New Year's. And it was actually so funny because my best friend, so this festival offers basically like a variety of things. There's like a little market where you can do like yoga stuff, and you can do like get your palms red, and you get all these things. And there are like some music like sites where you can go and dance, and you have the dance floor and they play music. And then there's a whole other side where you can go to workshops like breath work, go deep, connect with your soul. Like you have these, like they cater for basically a lot of things. So what happened, my best friend, she went to go dancing. She had a couple of beers and that was her thing. I went to the Soma breath workshop, because I didn't drink alcohol and stuff like that. And it's so funny because we both had the time of our lives, but just in a different way. Like I literally was high of like my own from my own breath. And I think when I remember, it was like 1.5 hour workshop. It was beautiful, and I started to see shapes and sacred geometry and lights, and I was really buzzing when I came out of this workshop. It was like in a tent outside, so it was in nature, which is beautiful. But I was like, I had to knee down, I had to go down on the ground because I was like dizzy. I was like, oh my gosh, if I was high, like I was like on drugs. Not that I know how that feels because I never took some, but I was, gosh, I need to catch some breath. It was amazing. That like shifted so much, and that was really a highlight for me to really see what our body is capable of doing just through our own breath. We have our own pharmacy within us, our own drugstore, so to speak. I always tell people, just don't spend even money on that. Like really, like tune into your body. It's so magical. And just like, I feel like it really like freed me up of a lot of stuff. And I feel like there was a lot of flow coming through. It was so beautiful. That's when I encountered Soma. And yeah, I know ever since. It was like 6 years ago. It has a very popular term, and some people throw it around lightly and don't even know, what it means possibly. But I believe also that there are so many things attached to it that can mean so many different things. So it's always a challenge with the semantics, I believe, especially in the spiritual realms, Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I always like to go back to its root, because my PhD and then somatic depth psychology is all based on Carl Jung's work, who was a main student of Freud, and going into the unconscious. So I really always like to name that. And in terms of breath, I mean, I remember reading this years ago, and it said breath is the connective tissue of the universe. And that really struck me, because we're all, we have our own nervous system, but we're connected in the collective. And we have this like nervous system throughout like our family units and friendship groups and everything. We're all so connected, and the breath connects us.
Absolutely. I love breath work. Just at the moment, I actually went back to just breathing in the morning, literally focusing on conscious breathing, holding a hand on my heart, hand on my womb space, and just breathing and be like really conscious about it. And then I do a couple of rounds for the Wim Hof breathing, the technique. I love that. Use time before my fights, because it just helps me and it wakes me up. You don't need like any caffeine or whatever, Yeah, my practices change. I have a flow. Whatever I'm needing at that time, I will really tune in and listen. And I like when, with the chronic pain, for example, I don't know, you're probably aware of Louise Hay or Gabriel Mate when they say, oh, the symptoms are connected to some, unprocessed emotions that are stored. So what are typical chronic pains that you come across often that are very, like I would say popular, or have a lot today with people, and what emotions are usually unprocessed? What is your experience?
Oh gosh, I mean, I mainly work with perinatal patients, so that can be preconception, prenatal, and then postpartum, as well as I see a lot of babies in my chiropractic practice. And especially with birth trauma, I like to have the birthing person, the mom, lay on their back, and then I'll have the baby just on their chest during tummy time. Maybe they're nursing even, and I'll kind of work between the two of them. And when I adjust a baby, it's like the same pressure if you're testing a tomato if it's ripe, or touching your own eyelid. And so I'll go back and forth between them doing chiropractic care. But because I have this background in psychology and also have done a lot of perinatal psychology training, I'll talk to them, and I'm always telling the baby, you're safe in your body. Your body is a safe place. And so what I notice in babies, if like the cord's been wrapped around their neck, they're often, while my finger's adjusting, and I'm just using like the tip of my pointer finger to do it, so cute and gentle. If they had the cord wrapped around and they had a really traumatic birth, they were really stuck in the birth canal maybe, they'll kind of shake, like that, like let it go. And then they'll be like, and breathe. And when we think of most animals, when they get away from a predator and they finally feel safe, they'll stop and they'll reground themselves, right? Like they'll quiver. You'll see that with a deer. They'll quiver, release all that energy back into the earth. Or when a dog gets groomed and they don't like getting groomed, they'll have the zoomies. They're like releasing that energy. But as adult humans, we often just shove it down in our body. But babies aren't going to do that. There's no placebo with a baby. And the babies, they're coming into me. They're not able to latch. And the parents are like, oh, they're so strong. They're holding their head up already. And then I'm like, I always call myself the bubble burster. I'm like, well, your baby's 6 days old and it can't yet hold its head up. So that's not actually strength per se. That's tension. About their birth story. So I'm working with from days old with pain even, because it can be held in our body from in utero. And if you're preconception work, it can be like holding that soul in, into your womb space as well. Like this chronic pain can start from there. And so I'll release them, and it's really, really special. So I'm seeing more people with pain in terms of like babies or traumatic births where it's physical and emotional pain, and helping them process their lived experience. And then the other, hopefully my dad's okay with me sharing this. I feel like he'll be okay. My dad has chronic regional pain syndrome from having an ankle fusion in 2009 where they severed a nerve. CRPS is also known as suicide disease. Changes your skin, lots of pain. So witnessing that has been really powerful for me as a person and as a doctor, of how to show up more for people in pain. And I watched my dad, and we were raised Polish Catholic, really transform. And he's never had alcohol before, any substances, but he got to a point he was trying everything. And then he ended up at a pain clinic, like with a medical doctor administering ketamine and an IV. And my dad calls me, and my whole family calls me Bethy. And he goes, Bethy, I know why the Beatles said it's all about love. And what? I'm like, what's happening? And having that experience was like really spiritual for him. And my dad started reading like every spiritual book. He goes to like gem fairs and by himself and buys crystals now. And it's just, all my friends are always like, I'm so jealous. I want your dad to be my dad. He's really chill, but he lives in chronic pain. But he's like, you got to keep going, because it's literally like if you don't use it, you lose it. And he's like, I had to come into a different relationship with pain. And he's like, it's in my head that, I'm receiving this pain. So like, he's like aware of it. He's in relationship with it, but he's still moving and doing things every day. Really different retirement than what he expected. Just another example, like I'm in relationship with the pain in my face and my eyes. My eye pressure will drop when the barometric pressure drops. And that's hard for me. But there's ways of just being like, this is what's happening. This is what I'm noticing. I'm going to acknowledge it, but then I can kind of release it too. Because if we, otherwise you can build up so much anger in your body, and that's not going to help you. So those are just some of the things that are really like present for me every day in my personal and professional life.
That's so powerful. Yeah, I love what you say, like when we bypass the pain, or then it will just be stored in our body cells and then just explode and run the show. It will run the show. It will just be there.
I like to use bypass too, because how much spiritual bypassing is there in this world?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can totally say that I have been caught up in that for a short time, like when you, that I think it's a very natural part of the spiritual awakening that you there's this little short time coming where you bypass it, where you're like, oh yeah, it's already existing in the quantum, it's all there. Then you don't take the physical action. There's this moment where our soul's like, oh, all is up there, and you don't want to come back here to earth. Nice, not being in this human body, for the soul.
We're glad to be here to learn something. So it's like, okay, come back in.
Coming back in and really, really honoring that our soul chose this body, this vessel. We borrowed it. It's not even ours. And for whatever reason, your soul, and I know you have been on this journey a little bit, like finding out the soul contract, or why your soul actually signed up for this, exactly this, to experience all that. Because I personally believe that everything we are going through, the person we meet, and every experience we have is our soul signed up for this for a reason, to evolve, because our soul just wants to grow. And it is not very pleasant to the ego, and it's not easy or great or fun at that time. But there's always a learning and a lesson in that, and eventually then a gift and a blessing. And it's all a choice. We can choose to stay there in the victim, mentality and visible, or we choose to empower ourselves and use it as like something to leverage. Okay, I sign up for this. It's a choice. And now I can choose. I can choose what I do with this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. So many things you said. I'm like, yes. I'm totally with spiritual bypass and like toxic positivity as well. Because sometimes things, just is. And you have to just acknowledge it, right? Okay, this is where I'm at right now. Yeah, I have done a lot of work to be like, okay, my soul made this contract. And for me, I'd worked with a shaman to like do some just journeys where you're in a deep meditation and going back to that time and place in the womb of making, taking on this mission to lose my eyesight, but to gain a greater vision for myself and for the world. That's a hard mission. And there's definitely days and times throughout the day where I'm like, you know what? This kind of sucks. Like, I really wish, even for these 2 seconds, I could see again, so that, because that would make it much easier. But I find ways to like work through it. And then I'm also like, okay, I've done a lot. I think this had to happen to slow me down a little bit, because I would have been a lot like for the world. So I think that some of it was like to help me stay embodied and to pause and to breathe and to be more present. So, it's all, it is what it is right now. So here I am.
Absolutely. And I love that you're also so honest and say, look, there are moments when I still wish I could see it. Just this question just came up, dropped in a download. I mean, you don't have to answer, but when you decide, and I know you were young, but when we have our eyes and we see, and, I think every woman or every person can actually relate to that, but women, especially when we look in the mirror, right? There's usually, when we look in the mirror, it's like, oh, my hair is like that. I don't like my skin, my body,
Yeah.
right? It's usually we start with something negative that we are not liking.
Yeah.
And do you feel like since you lost your eyesight, because you don't see with your eyes, you see with your heart and your soul and your being, your entire being, actually, that this has shifted or anything in that direction? Do you mind sharing, maybe?
I mean, it's interesting because I've had friends where they're like, "You're the most confident person we know," and I'm really, and I think it's because I'm just like on a different vibration with those things too. I mean, but at the same time, like I remember what everything looks like, and I still dream like I can see, so I like know what color my hair is.
By the way, it looks beautiful.
And I use my other senses in such an intense way, but then. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely things I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. I think I'm still human. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So,
Yeah.
it's the both and. So I can be connected with myself, but also definitely be critical of myself. And I'm like, oh gosh, because I remember what my eyes look like, and I'm always like, oh, like they're probably disgusting now, and that's like one of my biggest things. And my friends are like, you have an oracle eye. That's really hard for me not to know what they look like now, and that makes me emotional. I think that's like my first thing. I'm like about to cry. Such a Cancer sign, very sensitive.
You can do anything. You can cry, you can scream, you can be scream. You can wear an open space, and it's actually, thank you for being so vulnerable. And I could feel that emotion because I started to feel like emotional and be like, get customized because it's beautiful because you are you, and that powerful. People will feel that. All the listeners who listen to that, just being you, and that there is a part of you that wants to, of course, would like to see how your eyes look like and stuff, and who wouldn't, especially since you know how it is. I guess it's different when you're born with no eyesight, then you never know how it feels, but you obviously chose that path. So I personally want to commend you for everything, and show and tell you my gratitude for walking this path. It's definitely not easy ones.
So acknowledge, like, wow, I have a lot of privilege. Both my parents were in education. My dad became a professor and administrator, but I was raised by educators, so I knew how to advocate for myself for what I needed in school. And that's a big reason I was able to get 2 doctorate degrees. So I know, like, this has been hard, and also I have that privilege. So it's always that both and. And something that I really live by within Jung's work is he would talk about when you're in that tension of opposites and you're sitting in that discomfort and you're there and it's an intense place and you're being pulled in 2 directions. If you sit with it, a third thing will always emerge. So I'm always just like, I'm going to be within this tension and trust where it leads me.
So powerful. I love that. And it is true. Like when you actually allow everything that is happening right now, and whatever that may be, and to really do it and not trying to change it, to resist it, and literally embrace it. Every part of it, all of it. The path will be shown to you. There will be an insight given, call this person, take that action, do this, and it will just be resolved for you. And I'm not talking again about spiritual bypassing, sitting on the couch and rolling your thumbs. It's like that may help too for a moment, but it's just about literally embracing it. And that's the hardest part. And sometimes it may take a day or two. Sometimes it's just like that, because that's your but you need to expand your vessel. You need to expand the space. You need to clear out something. And sometimes it's just 10 minutes. It really depends. It is like, that's life, right?
Yeah.
And you said something so beautiful when we spoke before. I believe you said, like, that, like, I know you have all these beautiful embodiment practices, and you like, you combine science and these somatics and spirituality. And what does it mean for you to lead a life from the body rather than the mind? So what is the difference?
Well, I mean, I straight out reject Descartes and his philosophy of think, therefore I am. So it starts with that, because that's what created that schism many centuries ago. Mind over matter. And so when we break down matter, it's coming from, different root words, Sanskrit, nata, other. So when we're in that mentality of mind over matter, I'm just going to push through, not be really present, we're taking away the reverence and the understanding of the soma, of the body. And so for me, it starts with that rejection of that ideology and being present with the body mind. I always want to put the body first. So what am I noticing right now in my body? When we look at somatics, it comes back to 3 underpinnings. Interoception of what am I noticing inside of me right now? Like when you do a body scan meditation, that's your interoceptive awareness. I'm noticing my toe hurts. I'm noticing my breath change, those kind of things. Then we have this exteroception awareness. What's happening around me? What am I noticing? And then third, we have proprioception. Proprioception is where am I in time and space? And in our joints, in these little organelles, Golgi tendon organs in our tendons, we have proprioceptors. So we literally know where our joints are in time and space from a neuroscience perspective. So being mindful of those things in meditation, but in my everyday life of like, because I have to be really aware, otherwise I'm going to get hurt. Where am I in time and space? One of my really good friends is a pelvic floor physical therapist, and she's always like, such proprioception. It's like such a nerdy joke, but I'm like, thank you. I'm noticing where I am in time and space. And a lot of that came from, I was a swimmer and an athlete always growing up, and I rode crew. But once I got into yoga, and then I got really into kickboxing, and I for a time I was like, I want to create this combination called yoxing and do them together.
Yoxing.
I felt like they really informed each other, honestly. But yoga really changed my proprioception and all my types of awareness through the movement and recreating these neural pathways between my right and left hemisphere, helping me be more embodied. And so I use that all day long, because what I love about being a chiropractor is I'm not sitting all day. I'm always moving, but I have to be really aware, because at any given time, I could be adjusting a mom, a tiny baby, and then the older kids are there running circles around my table, and they have toys, and I can't see those things, and I don't want to step on them. So I'm like really spatially aware while somehow also being very present for an adjustment.
Yeah.
That's all practice.
Of course. Everything is practice. And I love the point that you just mentioned, because I will have a couple of listeners here who are also athletes, and because I have been my entire life, and it is definitely one of my biggest challenges, this concept, because we got trained and conditioned in this old concept, like mind over matter, override. Yeah. And I personally believe that there are certain little periods of time, especially as an athlete, where you do that, where you have to do that in order to stretch yourself, but in a very aware way, in a very conscious way, and I believe I have done a lot of things very unconscious and really traumatized my body beyond what it actually was able to take, and that left a lot of my body. What is your take on that, and what would be like one little giveaway or takeaway for anyone who's listening, and how to actually practice that to create a better balance there for athletes especially?
Wow. I mean, I've never been asked that, and I really love that, because especially being a swimmer, you're like so in your body. But I don't really need to take a breath right now. It's kind of like overriding your system. So I think that you can still be really embodied and have those moments. It's kind of like what I'm envisioning is the nervous system. And we have those branches of the sympathetic or fight or flight or freeze, fawn, flock, sometimes fornicate, all those F words within that, or parasympathetic, rest and digest. And so I don't want people to live in their sympathetics, fight or flight, and etc. I want you to be able to visit there and then come back down. So we could have those moments as athletes, especially if you're doing something like endurance, running, swimming, cycling, those kind of things, where you get in that headspace. But I also think there's a lot of embodiment available in those moments as well. And acknowledging and just, talking to yourself internally, maybe externally too. Okay, I know you're tired right now. We have a little bit more to do. Just keep going. And you could really give yourself that motivation, but maybe in a little different way of like the acknowledgement of like, yes, you're tired. Yes, you're really thirsty. It's really hot. And also we're almost done. So I think that's a way that you could step into a little bit deeper embodiment in those moments.
I love that. Exactly what I started to embody, because I was boxing for 7 years, and I will get back to it, but I needed this break. Was very needed, because what happened though, and it was serving at that moment, but the overriding, what you just described, is essentially will get you the same results, but it comes from a different place. It comes from a place of appreciation, acknowledgement, love, rather than punishment. My nervous system was recalibrated and conditioned to its punishment. You have to go through, you have to do more burpees, you have to do, because, and honestly, it's great. And I know there are some people out there who respond to that very well. And I need a little bit of a push. I thrive in that, but not too much. Like what I mean by that too much, like there's like more, I thrive on acknowledgement and be like, hey, I know, like what you just said so beautifully. And I do that with myself in the job, because I love pushing myself. I love to challenge. I'm very of pain in that sense, to feel that I can't walk kind of thing, but in a good way, challenging my body, stretching my body. But then I will be like talking to my body, and I do that in the gym all the time. I was like, God, we can go one more. We can do this, because I visualize this beautiful light and all my cells in the body, like getting all this oxygen and, like making it fun. For me, this is personally my experience, what I observed after this break. I need to make it fun. I think what I did subconsciously, I didn't realize it. I was getting conditioned to, it's all punishment. Training is punishment. This is, and I didn't even know. I didn't realize consciously that this is happening, but it just happened. I picked it up, my environment, the energies. And so what started to happen is that I was obviously, boxing was then connected to, it's something like there's punishment, or I need to be perfect. Or it was just like so much pressure. And it's always like sports with a lot of mental pressure, and factor. But that was me. That was happening subconsciously. Was not able to untangle that until I was out of this environment, completely out of it, and not like really letting go of this, like my routine and everything, to actually being able to see that. And now what I'm doing, I'm going back and I recondition myself all with fun and with lightness, because that's how I started it. I fell in love with the first punch, because I fell in love with how it made me feel in the first place. It made me feel good. It's playing. Yeah. A lot of people don't see it that way, but for me it was play and have fun. Yeah. Just do.
And, I am a kickbox. I want to find a new trainer for that, because my trainer moved on, I think, back to Alaska. So it's been years now, 5-6 years since I last did that. But at first I had also resistance when I had other trainers where they're, just for the cardio part of personal training, like, we're going to box. I'm like, no, I want to be more in my feminine and like, I was like, I don't want. And then I was gifted these pink boxing gloves. I'm not like a pink person. I was like, okay, I'll try it. And then I just really liked the mental stimulation of boxing. A combination. And then I have this video of me that I always am like searching for, and it pops up once in a while, where I'm doing just a really cool kickboxing, and like if you were to watch it, you would never know I couldn't see. That's when I felt really embodied, because I felt really like stable in my posture. I was doing so much yoga at the time, teaching like 3 classes a week as well. And it was really embodied. And I'm like, no, this is my divine feminine, because I'm fully showing up right now in my body and in my breath and in this movement that's fluid and flowing, but also has some control, like it had boundaries.
Right? This is what I realized myself too, because you need both. Like it is actually very much flow in boxing as well, and fighting too. You have to be really in the flow and present. And I feel there's no other place where I feel more centered than when I actually box and when I spar and when I train. And
Yeah.
you are in this moment. Nothing else matters. Literally, you have to, nothing else matters. There's not even a thought about the next moment of like, oh, I need a water or whatever. There's no place, and it's so beautiful. And it actually, when I started it in 2018, it accelerated my awakening and truth. Obviously, it's a big imprint. Like that's why I do it, and it just feels so like home. And then also the balance, having the yoga, the flow, don't be so stiff, and dance around, have fun, great music. That's
right. Reception, knowing where you are in time and space.
Yeah. And that's what proprioception. I will use that word now, a little bit like geeky, and it's beautiful. I love it. I have 2 more questions because man, the time is going fast.
I didn't know we were talking about boxing. This is great.
I didn't plan that. But I just flow as we do. We just flow with it. It's obviously a big topic, and also because like it is, it's part of my life. It's one of my big.
Yeah, it's in the field. Yeah,
definitely. And so many, like probably I haven't mentioned it before as such, but it was one of the things I had to let go of for 1.5 years now. That was the hardest thing to do, like to really be in a part of me for 7 years. It's a big identity, part of my identity, and then it feels like a death, right? And sure, I didn't know what's going to happen because it was just like everything was aligning in a way to move away from it for a while. And I had 2 choices. I either could let this happen, especially with I changed my entire life, changed in a nomadic lifestyle and never knowing really where I would end up. And I would resist it and try to make it happen and try to keep it. At the beginning, I was always, when I was looking for opportunities, with the house sitting, pet sitting, whatever, I was always looking, is there a boxing gym around? Can I reach it? How far is the bus? How much can I, afford? La, 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 la. It was constantly, I was trying to force it. And then I saw, what? And then God, the universe, always put me even in further away, like in very secluded places, in the middle of the on farms or stuff like that. And I was like, really? And then happened, and I just flowed with it, and then I could see how much I actually need to cleanse and allow my body and just let my body speak, or my soul speak through my body and all of it. And that was beautiful. I hope that activated this part within you to go back and fun and like be there's fire within you, because I know you have a lot of water and it's cancer season right now. The fire.
Yes, yeah. I'm a Leo rising in Mercury and Leo, so I got some fire.
I remember activate that. Yeah, fine. But the question, 2 things. Like I have one more question, and I thought we can finish with a nice, beautiful, quick guided body scan meditation, because that's what you do, and I feel like the listeners can experience that. It would be great if. But what I remember when you wrote down, I find that super, super interesting. Going to the food part right now, because I am raw vegan since a couple of years. Before that was vegetarian and stuff. And you mentioned that you were a vegan and vegetarian for a long, long time. And all of a sudden you started to eat meat again, or your body craved it, but it was really challenging for your mind. You know what? Like seeing one of my friends that I haven't seen in 12 years, and she had a similar journey like you. And she said she just started eating meat again, like very, very slightly, a couple of eggs, even just a piece of egg. She said her body started craving it, even though it still feels very strange in terms of her, like ethics and spirituality. And I was like, when she told me that, I said, that's interesting. I don't know if I could do that, but it's interesting. I get what you mean. You follow your body. It's like when things are changing, your rhythm changes. But how was that? How did you realize? I don't know if it happened like this. You woke up one morning and said, "Oh, I want to have a piece of,
Oh my gosh. Well, I was vegan for a year, and then I was out, and it was really hard. I was in Mexico, and just the town I was in, I'm like, this is like, there's nothing really. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna eat eggs. And then I was like, okay, let's just be a vegetarian. It's easier, and I still feel really good with that. I didn't have a meat for like 8 years, and I had stopped eating pork way before that, which was very hard for my Polish, grandmother to understand why I wouldn't eat kielbasa. Very confusing for her.
Yep.
Yes, that was the whole thing. And then my partner, we were talking about it, and I was like, really anemic, and he's like, maybe consider eating meat, and like, I don't want to. And then I did have a day where I was like, okay, what, if it's organic and sustainable, can I be okay with that? And there's actually a video of me, and he made me all this African food, and so I'm sitting there, and I was like, if I go in against my spirituality, he's like, this isn't spiritual right now. And so it kind of reminded me, like, I've talked to shamans about this before, where you're like, is that hog over there my grandma? Or like, no, sometimes it's just a bird. So I was like, maybe this doesn't need to be spiritual. This is my next part of my journey spiritually. But it was really hard. And so on this video at the end, I go, that was a lot of chewing. It's like such a crazy video, but I felt more energy. I didn't have labs done at that time, but I think I was really super anemic at that point, and it did help me in that perspective. But it was challenging, and it took time. And I don't know. I still think about it because there's a lot of times, like, I love Indian food, but I always get vegetarian. I'm like, I need this paneer. So I still eat a lot of vegetarian or vegan food, but I'm more open, I feel, and it kind of makes it easier to be in the world in some ways as well. So that's just where I'm at, and it doesn't mean I'm going to eat meat forever. It's just this moment in time. But it was a hard decision for me to go back to it, and I had some shame around it as well that I've actually never said that out loud.
Beautiful.
Yeah, especially practicing ahimsa and nonviolence, and that was hard for me. So that's just where I'm at now.
Thank you for sharing this. And you know what just happened? You just opened up another layer for yourself because you met shame. You said you never spoke this out loud. You just healed a part within yourself. And this has a ripple effect on the collective as well. For people about speaking this out loud and about the shame. It's beautiful. And again, very much courageous step. But this is what it means to live a soul-led life and to fully trust your soul, your body, your inner wisdom, despite what, the conditioning is and everything. And to really trust that. And I never try to convert people. That's not my mission anyway. I believe that we need to have people who eat meat. We need to have people who are vegetarian, pescatarian, whatever. There's so much.
Yeah.
I totally believe that. Just like we have people who are awakened and people who still stay asleep, if you want to use these terms. I'm having a lack of better words here right now, but that's totally what we need to. The duality of life is just there. There is no right or wrong, no good or bad. It's just simply beautiful that you trusted that. It's powerful because it's definitely not easy. And when I read that, when you wrote that, I was feeling into it. I can say with every fiber in my body that this is not my path right now. Right now, I can't even imagine it in the future, but I don't know what the future holds and brings. I don't know what's going to happen. But being raw vegan and having this is just like, it's me. It's totally me. And I have been like this. When I was a kid, I was drawn to that. I didn't really like meat and all these kind of things. And I got conditioned to like it. And then I had to unlearn and uncondition myself. So I believe my soul always craved that. And that's just how it is now. But honestly, I get this question often asked from people, like, if you are stranded on a desert, on an island, and there's nobody, and would you eat meat because you're starving? I said, look, I don't know how that feels, so I can't give you an answer, because I don't know how it feels. I don't know what I will do in this survival mode. How strong my mind is, because I can't find vegan or like raw vegan food. I will fast, do a water fast if it's like that. But usually I always find like some cucumber, apple, whatever. But this is that what
matters where we're at. And, because my mom didn't eat a lot of meat. So, and my youngest sister was vegetarian for a long time as well. And my dad, when we were growing up, he was like, we only shoot animals with our cameras. And so that really stuck with me. And just like such a profound thing. So I'm really sensitive to it still. But I also, like you were saying earlier, if I was at dinner with a friend or someone and they're eating meat, I didn't judge them. I'm like, it's okay. Like, if that's your journey, that's your journey. I'm not going to judge you on that.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I have tattooed on the inside of my left forearm, "Go with Wolf." And that came out of one of my former partners, he would always tell me to go with the flow. And but I really realized that was that spiritual bypass. So going back to that from earlier, and it was his flow. So I was meditating one day and I saw within my third eye that the word flow backwards is wolf. And I couldn't really believe it. I was like spelling it backwards aloud and forward. And, you know, I have a Siberian Husky. I really love wolves. It's like one of my spirit guides. So I went and got "Go with Wolf" tattooed on my arm. And I didn't put I wanted it to be like archetypal. Go with Wolf, not the wolf. And that's to remind my soma, my body, that I go with my own flow. That's how I can be in my feminine and be true to myself. So that's why I'm like, I probably won't eat meat forever, but this is just where I'm at for some of my goals right now and what is helping me with my own life force energy.
It's so beautiful. I never looked at it like this. Wolf, of course. Wolf is one of my
Yeah.
flow, wolf, amazing. That's why I have a husky. I feel
Yep.
onto husky.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even just picking, you know, Jaya and I chose each other. I got him at the shelter as a puppy. I had an old lady Siberian Husky I named Durga. And so I have these moments captured on video, which I love because I can listen back and feel into it. Since I can't see it, you know, it's better for that than a picture for me. And I stuck my hand in his kennel, which, you know, I wouldn't normally do. But his third eye kind of had blinked at me. And in this video, I just go, I love him. And I'm crying. And they had named him London, but I was like, no, like he's Jai, he's Victory. And then especially with my practice being a perinatal chiropractor, Durga, Victory to the mother, it was so perfect and divine. So that's how I'm within my own true sense of flow in the moment. Moments like that where I follow my inherent wisdom. And, you know, I want to close before we do this meditation. This quote that I really live by is from Gandhi, and it's intention without action is delusion. I think those intentions. But like you said at the beginning, you can't just sit on your couch. You also need to take action. So those two parts in yoga, it's the Sira and the Sukha, the effort and the ease, really work in relationship with each other so that we can fulfill what we're meant to do while we're embodied during this lifetime.
Absolutely love that. This is so powerful. It is absolutely powerful. And, you know, personally, that's what I came to realize is one of the most spiritual acts we can do is being human.
Yeah.
We embrace our humanness in all like senses and levels and dimensions. Yeah, so let's close off this beautiful flow and transmission. We can go on forever. And it's actually 3 to say this, but I feel like this is beautiful and has so much wisdom and so much, you know, like goodness in it. And it might not be the last one we connect, you know, like I hope that second one where we can go deeper into things because there are so many more questions that I have. But can we close off this beautiful flow or wolf with body scan meditation like that people can do, like minute one or something on a daily basis, because my listeners love like energy, like daily hacks that they can actually practice a little bit themselves.
Yeah, let's just drop in for a moment. So I invite everybody, let's take a couple breaths to drop into our body and our mind and our spirit right now. So gently closing your eyes so you've got soft gaze. We're just looking kind of through your eyelashes fluttering. And let's put one hand on your heart and one on your womb and that creative energy center. And let's take 3 breaths just to drop in. So deep breath in, holding for a moment, and then just gently opening your mouth and letting it go. And the next one is for the mind, because that first one was for the body. Deep breath in, holding at the top. Maybe you sip in a little bit more air and let it go. The next one, maybe it's the biggest breath of your day. This is for the spirit. Deep breath in all the way up. Sip in a little more air and let it all go. And now you could be seated or laying down. You can keep your hands on your heart in your womb space. Maybe you switch. You had your left hand on your heart, but that Left hand down on your womb space just to create that energy flow there. And we're just going to move through your body in that interoceptive awareness. So first, just noticing your toes. And is there any sensation there? Noticing what you're noticing. Feeling what you're feeling. And then we're going to move up towards your ankles, acknowledging the bottom of your feet, the top of your feet, the inside and the outside. And in some lineages, your feet are really the root chakra, not the tailbone. That connection to Mother Earth. So growing those roots down into the earth, feeling that power and sense of empowerment. And we're going to move up to your shins and your calves, the lower leg, all these strong muscles that hold you upright, helping you to walk, to run, supporting you in down dog. And then up to the knees, maybe sending your knees some gratitude for that hinge motion that helps you move. And with this next breath, we'll move up the legs, noticing any sensations in the front of your thighs and those quads, or in the back, your hamstrings, or your hamstrings really tight from sitting a lot. Can you breathe and lengthen them through your breath in this moment? And on your next inhale, bringing your attention and awareness to your pelvis, this seed of creativity. Whether you're going to birth a child, an idea, or a business, anything you conceive and believe and create from your sacrum, that sacred bone there, the base of your spine, and your whole pelvis moving as a beautiful ring. Are there any emotions coming up in your hips? Any different sensations between the left and the right side of your pelvis? All about the front versus the back of the pelvis. And as we move on, maybe you keep your hand still on your womb space, or maybe you slide it up over your belly button. We're in Ayurveda and yogic traditions. We have 72,000 nadis leading to that umbilical region. And you can move it up a little bit more, so we're more at that solar plexus chakra. What are you noticing in your torso, your abdomen, your sense of power and empowerment? And in this next inhale, we're going to move up the torso, around the chest, the ribs, the lungs, your heart, anahata. And here, if we're looking at the chakra system, the heart is green. And in so many ways, when we see like a green light, it means go. We want to be in the limelight. And there's all this action. This is the center of our energetic body. So maybe for this moment, green is a pause. Now we move to the shoulders. And let's move down the arms before we come up to the head. Coming down your arms. How are those biceps and triceps doing? Noticing what you're noticing. And feel what you're feeling in this moment. You are present, and moving to your elbows and down your forearms, the extensors and the flexors, the front and the back, making your way in your mind's eye to your wrists and then to your hands, your palms, all those carpal bones, to your fingers, allowing you to reach out to the world, hold others, same way you're holding yourself right now. And as you feel all this energy connecting, invite you, let's bring our awareness, bringing both your hands up and touching your crown. So we're bringing some awareness now to our head and touching your hair. So I feel like it's nice in this area just to have this deeper awareness through touch. So all this energy flowing, acknowledging your ears. Maybe you're gently massaging your own temples now, touching your nose. And in this moment, feel your face from this perspective of not being able to see yourself in the mirror. What does your face feel like to you in this moment? And now bring your hands down, maybe alongside if you're lying down or on your lap, palms facing up. The sense of receptivity, understanding, perhaps in a new way of who you are. So we'll take one big breath in, exhale, letting that all go, and gently fluttering your eyes open, coming back to this world and a new sense of being and beingness.
Thank you. That was beautiful. It's so interesting what comes up. So it's beautiful. Thank you so much for this beautiful dropping in the moment, dropping into the body, into the here and to the soul. Like, I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and you please replay this and use it as many times as possible. And I believe this is a great way to finish off our beautiful conversation. And is there anything you would like to say, or is there a message from your soul for the listeners that you want to say?
You know, it's so interesting as we were like on the face. I've never taught it where I'm like, touch your own face. And I was like, what would it be like for people to kind of like feel into like how I live? And that's where that came from, because I've never done it that way in all the years I've taught yoga and all sorts of things. And I thought that was really cool. And as that was happening, my dad was trying to beep it, and I'm sure to wish me a happy birthday. And I was like, oh, my dad's here with us. It was really sweet. So I really hope that was a cool experience for everybody to feel your face. And, you know, because people have this like, well, this person's blind. Do you want to touch my face? And it's like, no, I can feel your energy. But I think it's more interesting to feel your own face and your own body in a different way that is embodied. So just a different way of being present with yourself. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity and experience today. You know, you can all reach out to me on Instagram at Dr. E.Wisniewski. And I also just wanted to give a shout out, if it's okay. If you're an artist or creator of any type, please Apple Store or Google Play, download Dream Planet. There's a whole community where we're creating a new creator economy. So check that out as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. I will put all the stuff down below, box, guys, and you can then connect directly and of course ask any questions, any comments, like tell us what you liked the most, what activated you. Maybe you have any questions, maybe there was something controversial. We welcome everything, because that's what we so much. And you should definitely, just from a personal experience, include that now in your meditations from now on, to touch your face.
Thank you.
The birthday gift. And again, happy birthday, guys. No, but offline before I sang happy birthday in English and Spanish. So Lizzie Best, yeah, like that, and it was so beautiful and so much. And I can just feel it. I could talk forever. And guys, as always, I send you lots and lots of love. And until next time.
Thank you for tuning in to Din's Talk. I hope today's conversation sparked something within you. Remember, you have the power to align with your soul, take bold action, and live a life fueled by passion. Don't forget to subscribe, share with others, and leave a comment if this episode resonated with you. And as always, do it, never stop. Until next time, keep claiming your fire and your power.